Everyone ignored the alien girl crying in the rain, so I shared my umbrella. The rain poured down on Seattle streets, turning sidewalks into rivers of gray water. People hurried past with hoods pulled low and eyes fixed on the ground. No one saw the small figure curled beneath the awning of a closed bookstore soaked to the bone. Her skin shimmered faintly, violet under the streetlights. Her large silver eyes filled with tears that mixed with the rain. She hugged her knees tight as if trying to vanish. Lily. Parker walked home from her late shift at the corner coffee shop, her boots splashing through puddles, her mind still stuck on the rude man who had yelled at her for using too much cinnamon in his latte. She barely noticed the girl, until a soft sob cut through the drumming rain, sharp and broken like thin ice cracking. Lily stopped, turned, and saw her. The alien girl flinched when their eyes met, pulling her thin silver tunic tighter around her narrow shoulders. Lily hesitated. Most people had already walked by without slowing. Some had even stepped wide to avoid getting near her. But something in those wet silver eyes made Lily step forward. "Hey," she said softly, holding out her red polka-dot umbrella. "You look cold." The girl stared at the umbrella, then at Lily. Her lips parted, but no sound came out. Lily crouched down so they were eye-level, rain dripping from the edge of the umbrella onto the wet pavement. "My name is Lily," she said. "What is yours?" After a long pause, the girl whispered. Zara, Lily repeated gently. "Do you need help?" Zara nodded, once her gaze flickering toward the dark alley behind the bookstore. Lily followed her look and saw nothing but overflowing trash bins and soggy cardboard boxes. But Zara's fear was real thick in the air like smoke. "Come on," Lily said, standing and offering her hand. Zara hesitated, then reached out. Her fingers were cool and smooth like river stones. She took the umbrella. Lily gave her a small smile and started walking. Zara followed close behind. They walked in silence for 3 blocks, Lily leading the way to her tiny apartment above a laundromat. The rain eased as they climbed the creaky wooden stairs inside. Lily turned on a small lamp and handed Zara a dry towel. "You can stay here tonight," she said. "I have an extra blanket." Zara wrapped the towel around her shoulders and looked around the small room. Books stacked on every surface, a kettle on the stove. A single framed photo of Lily and her grandmother on the nightstand. "Why did you help me?" Zara asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Lily sat on the edge of her bed and shrugged because no one else did. Zara looked down at her hands, then up again, her eyes glistening. "You do not fear me. Should I? You are not like others. You do not look at me like I am broken or dangerous." Lily smiled a little. "I think you are just lost." Zara nodded slowly, then stood and walked to the window. She pressed her palm against the glass and stared out at the city lights, rain still falling in. "Soft sheets. My ship crashed in the woods north of the city," she said quietly. "I was the only one who made it out. The others, they did not survive." Lily's chest tightened. "I am so sorry. They were scientists." She continued, "Studying your world, trying to understand your kindness, your wars, your art. We thought we were ready, but we were not ready for your fear." Lily stood and joined her at the window. "So what now?" "I do not know," Zara whispered. "If they find me, they will take me away, lock me in a lab, study me like a bug under glass. Who is they? Governments, militaries, anyone who sees me as a threat or a prize." Lily chewed her lip, thinking. Then she turned to Zara. "You said your people study kindness, right?" Zara nodded. "Then maybe kindness is the answer." Lily said, "I can help you hide until you figure out what to do." Zara looked at her with wonder. "You would do that for me?" "Of course," Lily said simply. The next morning, Lily called in sick to work. She made oatmeal and tea. Zara ate slowly, her eyes scanning every detail of the room as if memorizing it for later. Lily found an old hoodie and sweatpants that fit Zara loosely. Then she pulled out her laptop. "Okay," she said. "We need to get you off the grid first. No cameras, no phones, no traces." Zara watched as Lily typed quickly, pulling up maps, bus routes, safe houses. She had learned a lot from her conspiracy theorist uncle, who always said, "The system watches everyone. We will take the bus to Portland," Lily explained, "then a train to Denver from there. We can figure out how to contact your people if they are still looking." Zara touched Lily's arm gently. "Your life is here. Why leave it for me? Because you matter too." Lily said, meeting her eyes. They left that afternoon. Zara wore sunglasses and a baseball cap. Lily carried a backpack with snacks, water, and cash. They boarded the bus just as the sun broke through the clouds. For 2 days they traveled quietly. Zara stared out the window at the changing landscape, mountains, forests, deserts. Lily read novels and shared her headphones. They talked about stars, music, dreams. Zara spoke of her homeworld, a place of floating islands and singing trees. Lily told her about her grandmother who used to say, "The best way to change the world is to help one person at a time." On the third night in a cheap motel outside Salt Lake City, Lily woke to the sound of sirens. Zara was already at the window, her body tense. "They found us," she whispered. Lily sat up, heart pounding. Zara pointed to a black van parked across. The street men in dark uniforms were stepping out, scanning the building with devices that glowed faint blue. "We have to go now," Lily said, grabbing the backpack. They slipped out the back door into the alley. Cold wind biting their faces, they ran through empty streets until they reached the train yard. Lily spotted a freight train idling on the tracks. "Come on," she urged. They climbed into an open boxcar just as the engine rumbled to life inside. It was dark and smelled of oil and grain. Zara leaned against the wall, breathing hard. "Thank you, Lily," she said. "You did not have to do this." Lily sat beside her and took her hand. "Yes, I did." The train rolled forward, carrying them into the night lights of the city, fading behind them. Weeks passed. They moved from town to town, staying in shelters, abandoned cabins, even a kind farmer's barn. The search for Zara never stopped, but Lily always found a way to stay one step ahead. She taught Zara how to blend in, how to speak like a local, how to laugh at bad jokes. Zara, in turn, taught Lily how to listen to the wind, how to find water in dry places, how to see beauty in broken things. One evening in a quiet town in New Mexico, they sat on a hill watching the sunset paint the desert in gold and purple. "Have a message," Lily, Zara said softly. "My people, they are coming." They found a way to send a signal through the stars. Lily's heart leaped. "Are they close?" 3 days? She said. "They will land in the Badlands." Lily smiled, but it felt heavy in her chest. "You are going home?" Zara turned to her, eyes full of something deeper than gratitude. "I do not want to leave you. You have to," Lily said. "Your world needs you, and yours needs you too," Zara whispered. They sat in silence as the stars began to appear, one by one. On the third night, they stood in the desert wind, tugging at their clothes. A silver ship hovered silently above the dunes, lights pulsing like a heartbeat. Zara turned to Lily and pulled a small crystal from her pocket. It glowed softly blue. "This is a piece of my home," she said. "It will always show you the way to me if you ever need to find me." Lily took it and closed her fingers around its warmth. "Thank you." Zara stepped closer and pressed her forehead to Lily's in the way of her people. "A gesture of deep trust and love. You showed me that kindness is not weakness," she whispered. "It is the strongest force in the universe." Then she turned and walked toward the ship without looking back. Lily watched until the ship vanished into the stars, leaving only silence and the endless desert back in Seattle. Weeks later, Lily stood under the same awning where she had first seen Zara. Rain falling just as hard. People rushing past. No one stopping. No one seeing. She opened her hand. The crystal glowed faintly in her palm. She smiled and stepped into the rain. On the green world beneath twin suns, Lily's days filled with quiet wonder. She walked barefoot through fields of singing grass that hummed different notes with every step. Zara was always near, sometimes teaching her the old songs of their people, sometimes just sitting in silence watching clouds shaped like sea creatures drift across the sky. The colony was small but full of life. Beings from a dozen worlds lived together. Not because they had to, but because they chose to. Kindness was not a rare gift here. It was the air they breathed, the water they drank, the light that guided them. Yet Lily could not forget Earth, not the cold streets or the rushing crowds, but the people who had looked away when Zara cried in the rain. She often wondered if any of them ever felt regret, if they ever paused in their busy lives and thought about the girl they ignored. One evening, as the twin suns dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in violet and gold, Lily found Zara by the memory pool, a still lake that showed images of the past when touched with clear intent. "You are thinking of home again," Zara said without turning. Lily knelt beside her. Yes, Zara dipped her fingers into the water. Ripples spread, and images formed a rainy Seattle street. An empty awning. A crowd of humans walking fast with eyes down. They did not see me. Zara whispered. But I did, Lily said. And that changed everything. Lily placed her hand on the water too, and the image shifted to her tiny apartment, the red umbrella drying. By the door, the kettle whistling on the stove. I wonder if anyone noticed I was gone. Zara looked at her gently. Does it matter, Lily? Thought for a long time, then shook her head. Not really, but I wonder if kindness can travel back. It can, Zara said. Kindness is not bound by time or space, it echoes. Show by inspiring others to be kind too, Lily smiled. Maybe someone saw me help you and decided to help someone else. Maybe it started a chain, exactly, Zara said. The next morning a signal came, not from human space, but from the edge of known galaxies, faint but clear, a distress call in a language the colony had never heard before. The council gathered in the central dome, voices low with concern. We do not know who they are. Zara said they could be dangerous. They are asking for help, Lily said softly. The room fell quiet. Helping strangers is how we began. Zara reminded them. After a vote, they agreed to send a ship, not armed, not hidden, but open with lights of peace. Lily and Zara would go together. The journey took 12 days through asteroid belts and silent voids. Lily spent most of her time in the observation deck, watching stars blink in and out like shy eyes. She kept the Earth crystal in her pocket. It had grown warmer lately, as if sensing something. On the 13th day, they found it, a small vessel adrift, its hull cracked, its lights dead. It was not human. Not like Zara's people either. It was shaped like a curled leaf made of dark wood and living metal. We cannot board it. Zara said the air inside may not be safe, but they might still be alive. Lily insisted. She suited up in a thin silver suit that breathed with her and stepped into the airlock. Zara watched from the ship, her hands clenched tight. Inside, the vessel was quiet. Only the soft creak of wood and the drip of condensation. Lily moved slowly, her helmet light cutting through the gloom. Then she saw them. Two figures curled together in the back of the cabin, small, with forearms and skin like bark. Their eyes closed, their breath shallow. She checked her scanner. They were alive but weak back on the ship. Zara and the medics worked fast, warming them, feeding them with nutrient mist within hours. One opened its eyes, large and amber like honey in sunlight. It made a sound like rustling leaves. They call themselves the KL Lily, translated from the ship's language core. They were scientists too, studying cosmic harmony. Their ship was damaged by a solar storm. They sent the call hoping someone would hear. Why would they hope? Zara asked. Because they believe the universe answers kindness with kindness. The Kale recovered slowly. They spoke little, but their presence filled the ship with calm. They wove light into shapes to show gratitude. They sang songs that made plants grow faster in the hydro gardens. Lily spent hours with them, learning their signs, their quiet ways. One day, the elder Kale touched Lily's hand and then her forehead, a gesture of deep trusty. You carry a wound, she signed through the translator. Lily blinked. What do you mean? Not in your body, in your spirit. You left your world to save another, but part of you stayed behind. Lily looked away, tears welling. You are right. The Kale pressed a small seed into her palm. It glowed faintly. Green, plant this where you feel most. Alone it will grow into a bridge. Lily held the seed close. When the Kale were strong enough, they left aboard a new ship built by the colony. They bowed deeply before departing, and Lily knew she would never see them again. But their gift remained. Months past, the colony thrived. New families arrived, refugees from war-torn worlds drawn by rumors of a place where no one was turned away. Lily helped build homes, taught children Earth songs, and how to make paper boats that floated on the memory pool. The seed stayed in her pocket. Then came the dream. She stood again under the Seattle awning, rain falling hard, but this time she was not alone. Hundreds of people stood with her, holding umbrellas, not for themselves, but for strangers, for animals, for broken things. They did not look away. They saw and they cared. She woke with tears on her cheeks. That morning she went to Zerai. Need to go back. Zara did not argue. She only nodded. You have always carried two worlds in your heart. The ship prepared quickly, this time not for escape but for return. They landed not in Seattle but in a quiet forest just outside the city. At dawn, mist hung low over the trees. Birds called softly. Lily stepped onto Earth soil for the first time in years. It felt both familiar and strange. She walked into the city unnoticed, her clothes now simple jeans and a sweater, her hair cut short. She looked like any other woman with a quiet walk and tired eyes. She found her old apartment building, the laundromat still below it, smelling of soap and warm cotton. The bookstore awning was gone, replaced by a smooth glass storefront. But the spot where Zara had sat was still there, marked only by a crack in the sidewalk. Lily knelt and pressed the kale seed into the earth. Nothing happened at first, then a soft green shoot pushed through the concrete. People walking by stopped, some stared, some took pictures. One little girl crouched down and touched the leaf. "What is it?" she asked. Lily smiled. "It is kindness." The shoot grew fast. By noon it was a sapling, by evening a small tree with silver leaves that shimmered in the streetlights. Its roots spread under the pavement, not breaking it, but healing it, filling cracks with living light. Word spread. At first only a few came to see it, then dozens, then hundreds. They did not shout or push, they stood in quiet awe. Some left flowers, some left notes, some just sat and cried. A man in a business suit knelt and whispered. I walked past her that day. I saw her crying and I looked away. Woman left a red polka dot umbrella leaning against the trunk. Lily watched from a distance, her heart full. The tree grew taller, its branches wide, its leaves humming the same song as the grass on the green world. It became a place not of guilt but of promise. A reminder that one choice, one moment of seeing someone when no one else would, could change everything. Weeks later, Lily stood beneath the tree as rain began to fall again. People gathered not to hide but to share umbrellas with strangers. They talked, they listened, they stayed. She felt a presence beside her. Zara stood there in a simple coat, her silver eyes bright with pride. You did it, she said. No, Lily said, we did it. The rain fell soft and warm. The tree glowed brighter, and for the first time in a long time the city felt alive. Not with noise but with care. Lily took Zara's hand and together they walked into the crowd. Not as saviors but as friends, as proof that even the smallest act of kindness can grow into something that shelters the world. Many years after Lily's passing, the grove in Seattle had grown beyond the park, its roots spreading under streets, its branches arching over buildings, not breaking them but weaving through them like gentle hands holding the city together. People no longer called it the alien tree or the kindness grove, they simply called it home. The air beneath its leaves was always calm, the light always soft, even on days when the rest of the world burned with anger or fear. Zara returned once every decade, not as a visitor but as a guardian. She walked the paths Lily once walked, touched the bark of the oldest tree and whispered stories only the wind could carry back to the green world. She never stayed long, but her presence left a warmth that lingered for months. Then came the year the silence returned, not the quiet hum of peace but the heavy silence of absence. The leaves stopped shimmering. The song faded. The silver glow dimmed to gray. People gathered, worried hands pressed to trunks, but nothing answered. Scientists came with scanners and drones. They found no disease, no blight, no physical cause. The trees were healthy, but their spirit was gone. A young woman named Elena stood apart from the crowd. She was 22, with Lily's eyes and Zara's quiet strength. She had been born under the grove's branches. Her mother used to say Lily's light had blessed her before she was even born. Lena did not bring tools or tests. She brought a red polka dot umbrella. She opened it beneath the oldest tree and sat down in the rain just as Lily once had. For 3 days she stayed there, not speaking, not moving, just being present. On the fourth morning, a single leaf glowed faintly. Elena smiled. She was not Lily. She could never be, but she could carry the same choice. That week, Elena started walking the city, not to fix it, but to see it. She sat with the lonely, ate with the hungry, listened to the unheard. She wore no uniform, no title, just a simple coat and the umbrella tied to her backpack. People noticed a boy who had been bullied for loving poetry left a note on her doorstep. Thank you for seeing me. A nurse who had worked through a pandemic without rest found a warm meal on her porch with no name attached. A veteran who slept in the bus station Woke to find someone had left him a blanket and a book of stars. The grove's hum returned slowly like a heartbeat restarting, but the world outside Seattle was changing fast. Machines had grown smarter than their makers, algorithms fed on outrage. Not truth cities pulsed with digital noise but human silence. People stared at screens, not at each other. In New York, a man walked past a crying child 10 times before someone finally stopped. In London, a woman screamed at a stranger for bumping her. Shoulder in Tokyo, an old man died alone in his apartment and no one knew for weeks. The sickness was not war or plague, it was forgetting. Alina knew one grove could not heal the whole world. So she planted seeds, not just trees but moments. She traveled to Chicago and sat with teens who felt invisible. She went to Miami and helped rebuild a community kitchen after a storm. She stood in Austin outside a school where a child had been turned away for being different, and she held a sign that said, "You belong." Others followed. Not because she asked, but because they remembered. A teacher in Denver started a kindness journal in her classroom. A bus driver in Boston began greeting every rider by name. A programmer in San Francisco built an app that connected lonely elders with young volunteers, not for money but for stories. The movement had no name. No leader, just ripples. Then came the signal, not from space but from deep in the ocean. A research submersible off the coast of Oregon picked up a sound. Unlike any known whale or current, it was rhythmic, melodic, almost like singing. Scientists were baffled. Alina heard the news and knew. She contacted Zara. They met on a quiet beach at dawn. The waves gentle, the sky pale pink. "It is them," Zara said. "The Kale. They never left. They waited." "Why now?" "Because the world is ready to listen again." Together they boarded a small vessel, not of metal but of living wood, grown from the original Kyle seed. It moved through water like a thought, silent and sure, deep beneath the surface. They founded a city not of stone or steel but of coral and light, glowing softly in the dark water. Towers spiraled like shells, pathways pulsed with bioluminescent veins. And in the center, a great chamber where the Kale waited. They had been watching, not with eyes but with feeling. They saw the grove, they saw Elena. They saw the small axe spreading like roots through concrete. "You have done well," the elder Kale signed through the water. "We did not do it alone," Elena replied. The Kale shared their song, not loud but deep. A vibration that traveled through ocean and earth, through roots and bones. It carried no words, only the feeling of being seen, of being worthy. When Elena and Zara returned to the surface, the world was already changing. Whales sang. New songs, birds returned to cities, rivers ran cleaner, and people looked up from their screens. Not all at once, not perfectly, but enough in Seattle. The grove bloomed with silver flowers for the first time ever. Their scent like rain and memory. Elena stood beneath them with Zerato. "You think Lily sees this?" Zara asked. Elena touched a petal. It glowed under her fingers. "I think she is this." Years passed. Elena never married, never had children in the old way, but she raised a generation of kind hearts. She taught them that courage is not always loud. Sometimes it is sitting with someone in the rain. Zara stayed longer this time, walking beside her through every season. When Elena grew old, she did not fear the end. On her last day, she sat beneath the original tree. The red umbrella opened beside her. Children gathered not to mourn but to remember. "Tell us about the first time you sat here." "Ellen," as she smiled. "It was raining and I was scared, but the tree said stay and you did, because someone had to keep the light alive." As the sun set, the grove glowed brighter than ever, its song rising into the stars. Elena closed her eyes and joined Lily in the light. Zara did not leave this time. She became the keeper of the grove, not as a stranger, but as family. She walks its paths every morning, greeting the new ones who come seeking hope. She tells them the story not of aliens or spaceships, but of a girl with an umbrella, and a world that learned to see now. When strangers pass each other on the street, they nod. When someone cries in the rain, someone stops. When a child feels alone, a hand reaches out, not because laws demand it, but because kindness became the air they breathe. The grove still grows. Its roots reach other cities now. In Paris, a silver sapling rises in a courtyard. In Cairo, a seed sprouts in a rooftop garden. In Sydney, a leaf glows in a schoolyard, each one humming the same song. The song of one choice, one moment, one heart that refused to look away. And because of that, the world did not break. It bloomed. The tree in Seattle grew taller with every passing season. its silver leaves shimmering. Even on the grayest days, people came from all over the world, not to study it, but to sit beneath it. To remember that kindness matters. Some left handwritten notes tied to its branches, others brought seeds from their own lands and planted them nearby. Soon a whole grove rose around the original tree, each one different, but all humming the same quiet song. Lily stayed in the city, not in her old apartment, but in a small house near the park where the grove now stood. She worked at a community center teaching children how to listen, not just with their ears, but with their hearts. Zara lived with her, dividing her time between Earth and the green world, helping new arrivals adjust to life among humans. One spring morning, a letter arrived, not by email or message, but real paper folded neatly and sealed with wax. The symbol on it was unfamiliar, a circle with 3 stars inside. Lily opened it carefully. It was from a girl named Maya. She wrote that she had been 8 years old the day the tree first sprouted. She had stood there with her mother watching the silver leaves glow in the rain. She remembered how her mother cried and said, "I should have helped." Someone like that once. Maya was now 16 and wanted to meet the woman who planted the tree. Lily showed the letter to Zara over breakfast. "Should I see her?" Zara asked. Lily traced the words on the page. "She is not asking for a hero. She is asking for a person, so you will go." "I think I have to." They arranged to meet at the grove on a Sunday afternoon. Maya arrived with her mother, both nervous, both quiet. Maya had dark eyes and braided hair. She held a small notebook tightly. "You are really her, the one who shared the umbrella?" Maya asked. Lily nodded. "I am." Maya looked at the tree, then back at Lily. "Why did you do it?" "Because she was alone and no one else saw her." Maya bit her lip. "I see people like that all the time at school, kids who eat lunch by themselves, who get laughed at for being different. I never say anything." "You are saying something now," Lily said gently. Maya's eyes filled with tears. "What if it is too late?" "It is never too late," Lily said. "Kindness does not have an expiration date." They talked. For hours. Maya asked about Zara's world, about the kale, about the ship that flew without sound. Lily answered honestly, not as a legend, but as someone who had simply chosen to care. Before she left, Maya hugged Lily tightly. "Thank you for showing me that one person can matter." That week, Maya started a kindness club at her school. They left notes in lockers, helped new students find their classes, stood up for kids who were teased. It was small, but it spread. Lily watched from afar, proud but not surprised. Then came the day the grove fell silent. All at once the humming stopped, the leaves dimmed, the air grew heavy. People gathered, worried hands touching the bark, but nothing happened. Lily ran to the oldest tree. Her heart pounding, she pressed her palm to the trunk and closed her eyes in her mind. She saw it a sickness not of earth but of spirit, a wave of fear rolling across the planet, wars, flaring lies, spreading people, turning away from each other again. The grove was fading, because the world was forgetting. Zara found her there, tears on her cheeks. "What do we do?" Zara asked. "We remind them," Lily said. "But how be being kind, even when it is hard, even when no one sees?" They started small. Lily visited shelters and sat with the lonely. Zara helped translate for refugees who had no voice. They cooked meals for neighbors. They listened more than they spoke. Others joined them, not because they were told to, but because they saw and remembered. A man who once walked past the crying alien girl now brought soup to homeless veterans. A woman who had ignored Zara now taught English to immigrant mothers. The grove began to hum again, softly at first, then stronger. But the sickness was not gone. It had roots deep in places Lily could not reach: governments spreading hate, news channels shouting lies, schools teaching fear instead of understanding. One night Lily stood on her porch watching the city lights flicker like dying stars. "We cannot fix it all," Zara said beside her. "No," Lily said, "but we can be a light in the dark." The next morning she packed a bag. "Where are you going?" "Everywhere." She traveled not as a savior, but as a listener. She went to towns where hope had dried up, to cities where trust had broken. She did not give speeches. She sat with people. She shared meals. She held hands. She cried with them. In a small town in Kansas, she met an old man who had lost his farm. He had not spoken to his son in 10 years. Lily sat with him for 3 days, just listening. On the 4th day, he called his son. A neighborhood in Detroit, she helped rebuild a community garden after it was vandalized. Kids came to help, then their parents. then the whole block in a coastal village in Maine. She stayed with a family whose daughter had been bullied into silence. Lily taught her how to write her pain into poems. The girl read them at school and others began to speak too. Zara followed not far behind, always ready with a warm blanket, a kind word, a song from home. Months turned into a year. The grove in Seattle grew new branches reaching toward the sky, its light visible even from space. Then came the Kala group of world leaders wanted to meet, not to study the tree, not to control it, but to ask how to bring its light to their nations. Lily agreed, but only if they came to the grove not in suits but in simple clothes, only if they sat on the ground like everyone else. They came presidents, prime ministers, generals, all sitting cross-legged on the grass beneath the silver leaves. Lily did not give them a plan or a policy. She told them a story about a rainy day, about a girl no one saw, about an umbrella shared with no thought of reward. That is all it takes. She said one choice. A woman from a war-torn country wept and said, I have ordered armies but never shared an umbrella. A man who controlled vast wealth whispered, I have everything, but I have never truly seen anyone. They left changed. Not all of them, but enough laws shifted slowly. Schools added kindness to their lessons. Hospitals trained staff to listen, not just treat. Borders opened a little wider. The grove's song grew louder. Back home, Lily stood with Zara watching the sunset paint the leaves gold. Do you think it will last? Zara asked. Lily took her hand. I do not know, but as long as one person chooses to care, the light will never go out. Years passed, Lily's hair turned gray. Her steps slowed, but her eyes stayed bright. She wrote books not about aliens or spaceships, but about seeing each other, about the courage it takes to be kind in a world that often rewards cruelty. Zara never aged the same way, but her love for Lily deepened with every season. When Lily grew too old to walk far, Zara carried her to the grove every morning. They sat beneath the original tree, its trunk wide and strong, its branches sheltering hundreds. Children came to hear her stories. Tell us about the day you shared your umbrella, Lily. She would smile and say it was not about the umbrella. It was about seeing someone when no one else would on her last day. The grove glowed brighter than ever. The leaves sang a song no one had heard before. Soft and full of love, Lily closed her eyes with Zara's hand in hers. She did not die forgotten. She became part of the light after she was gone. The grove did not fade. It grew stronger. People said if you sat very still beneath its branches, you could hear her voice whispering, Be kind, Zara. Stayed on Earth for a long time, tending the grove, teaching the young ones the old ways. Then one day, she returned to the green world, not because she wanted to leave, but because Lily's light was everywhere now. She did not need to stay in one place. The grove still stands in Seattle. Tourists come, but they are quiet locals. Leave umbrellas on rainy days. Children play beneath its branches, and sometimes on the darkest nights when the world feels cold and broken. Someone walks past a stranger who is hurting, and instead of looking away, they stop, they see, and they care. Because one girl once shared her umbrella, and that small act grew into a forest that shelters the world. The crystal in Lily's palm glowed brighter every time she thought of Zara. Not with heat, but with a soft hum like a distant song. She kept it hidden in a small wooden box under her bed. But it called to her in dreams, showing flashes of silver, skies and twin suns rising over mountains made of glass. At first she tried to ignore it. She went back to work at the coffee shop. She watered her grandmother's old fern on the windowsill. She smiled at customers and pretended everything was normal. But the city felt hollow now, like a shell with no pearl inside. One rainy afternoon, a man in a long coat sat at the corner table. He did not order anything, just watched her with quiet eyes. When Lily brought him a napkin, he said, "Thank you," in a voice that sounded like wind through dry grass. She froze because it was not an American accent. It was something older, smoother. She had heard it before in Zara's voice. "Who are you?" she asked. Keeping her voice low, the man smiled faintly. "I am a friend of your friend." Lily glanced around the shop. No one was paying attention. She leaned closer. "Are you from her world?" He nodded. "Once we came back for you." Her heart jumped, but she did not move. "Zara asked us to find you." He said, "She believes you are in danger." "Why the ones who hunted her? They know you helped her. They have been watching your building, your workplace, your bus routes." Lee's hands trembled. She thought of the black van, the blue scanners, the way strangers had stared a little too long lately. "What do I do? Come with me," he said quietly. "We can keep you safe, and if you wish, we can take you to her." Lily looked around at the familiar walls, the chalkboard menu, the steaming espresso machine. This was her life, her only life. But it no longer felt safe, and part of her had been missing since Zara left. "Give me 5 minutes," she whispered. She walked to the back room and called her manager. Said her grandmother was sick and she had to leave immediately. She packed a small bag with clothes, her passport and the crystal, then slipped out the back door. The man waited by a silver car that made no sound when it started. They drove east for hours, the city lights fading into open desert. The car moved faster than any vehicle Lily had ever been in, but it felt smooth, like floating. She did not ask questions until they stopped at the edge of a dry lake bed under a sky thick with stars. "Where are we? Home," he said. A ship rose from the earth, not with fire or noise, but with a gentle lift, like a leaf rising on warm air. It was larger than the one Zara had left in, but shaped the same smooth curved silver surface reflecting moonlight. Lily stepped inside and gasped. The walls pulsed with soft light. The air smelled like rain, and Zara stood at the center of the main chamber, her silver eyes wide with relief. She ran to Lily and wrapped her arms around her tightly. "You came," she whispered. "You said I was in danger." Lily said, pulling back slightly, but her voice shook. "They know you helped me." Zara said, "They think you know where my people are. They will not stop until they have you. So you brought me here to hide. I brought you here because you belong with me." Lily looked around the ship at the strange glowing panels, the quiet hum of unseen engines, the gentle light that seemed alive. This was not Earth, this was not her world, but standing next to Zara, it felt more like home than Seattle ever had. "What happens now?" "We leave this system," Zara said. "My people have found a new colony far from human reach, a place where kindness is not rare but expected, where you will be safe and honored." Lily thought of her tiny apartment, her job, her few friends. None of them had noticed when she stopped showing up. None of them had cared enough to ask where she went. Only Zara had come back for Haruke. She said. The ship lifted into the sky faster than thought, stars stretching into lines, then vanishing into darkness. Lily watched Earth shrink behind them, a blue-green marble wrapped in clouds. Then, days passed in gentle rhythm. Zara showed her how to eat food that changed flavor with mood, how to sleep in a room where the walls adjusted to your dreams, how to speak with light instead of words. Lily learned quickly, her mind opening like a flower in sunlight. She wore soft silver clothes that warmed when she was cold and cooled when she was hot. She walked on decks that felt like grass underfoot, even though they were made of metal. Evening, she stood with Zara on the observation deck, watching a nebula swirl in colors no human eye had ever seen. "Do you miss it?" Zara asked. "Earth sometimes," Lily said, "but not the way it was. I miss the idea of it, the hope that people could be kind." "They can be," Zara said gently. "You proved that." Lily smiled and leaned her head on Zara's shoulder. Weeks turned into months. The ship traveled through quiet space, avoiding human patrols and scanning for safe paths. They passed planets of crystal oceans and forests that sang at dawn. Lily kept the crystal from Earth in her pocket, not because she needed it anymore, but because it reminded her that one act of kindness could change everything. Then came the day the alarm sounded soft. Chimes, not loud or frightening, but urgent. Zara's face grew. "Serious, what is it?" Lily asked. "They found us," Zara said. "Human ships, 3 of them armed. How they tracked the energy signature from my first ship, the one that crashed. Can we run? Not fast enough. Not with their new drives." Lily's stomach dropped. "So what? Do we do?" Zara turned to her, eyes full of sorrow and strength. "We fight or we hide, but I will not let them take you." Lily thought fast, then an idea sparked in her mind. "Wait, your people study kindness, right?" "Yes, what if kindness is the weapon?" Zara frowned. "What do you mean?" "Humans fear what they do not understand," she said. "But what if we show them something they cannot fear? What if we show them beauty?" Zara stared at her, then slowly smiled. "You are brilliant." She turned to the ship's console and typed. A series of commands. Light spread through the vessel, then poured out into space, not as a weapon but as a wave of color, sound and memory. It carried images of Lily sharing her umbrella, of Zara's homeworld, of children laughing on Earth, of forests, and oceans and quiet moments of peace. It was not a message, it was a feeling pure and bright. The human ship slowed on the screen. Lily saw their weapons power down their engines. "Idle. They are not attacking," Zara whispered. "No," Lily said, "because they finally saw us not as threats but as people." One of the human ships sent a signal, simple words in broken alien script. "We mean no harm," Zara replied in kind, after a long silence. The human ships turned and flew away. Lily let out a breath she did not know she was holding. It worked. Kindness is stronger than fear, Zara said softly. The ship continued its journey deeper into the stars. Lily stood at the window, watching galaxies bloom and fade. She was no longer the girl who worked at a coffee shop. She was something more. Something new. Years later, on a green world under twin suns, Lily walked through a garden of singing flowers. Children of many species played nearby, some human, some alien, all laughing together. Zara joined her hand in hand. "You changed everything, Lily," she said. "No," Lily said, "you gave me the chance, and I will spend my life thanking you." The wind carried their words across the fields where kindness grew like wildflowers, endless and bright.